Yeah, I mean, it's clearly true that the labor market, even though it is a very flexible labor market relative to the rest of the world, has had very persistent problems after the financial crisis 2008, 2009. Structural employment is higher for one reason, that a lot of the unemployment is happening in the construction sector, which was the share of construction relative to GDP was way too high. So obviously the workers that lose jobs in the construction sector have a very hard time finding jobs in other industries because they first have to learn a new job. So your specific skills, your special skills that you have in one sector are not easily be transferable to the other sector. So that's an issue. But you can also see that unemployment has risen across the board. So clearly construction, manufacturing being affected the most. Also leasing and financing, the mortgage business, retail trade, because the consumer had been spending more for a very long time than the income that was generated, so there was over leverage in the household's balance sheets. That has to be corrected. But if you look at the data, the problem is actually across all of the industries. So there's a huge debate whether the unemployment that we see right now at 8.3%, actually with the numbers that we got today, is really just cyclically a problem. It's just a reflection of too little demand, and somehow the Fed and the government has to try to spur demand, or if it's really a structural problem. I think it's a little bit of both. So for example, when you look at the relationship between job openings and the unemployment rate, the so-called Beveridge curve, you look at that data, and for every opening, you have a higher number of unemployed. So for every opening, on average, you used to have 2.6 number of unemployed. Right now you have 3.7 number of unemployed, showing that for every opening, there's more of a mismatch of skills, regional, age mismatch, so it's harder to fill the opening jobs, which is a sign of a structural problem. So the unemployment rate right now at 8.3, the structural unemployment rate, which on average has been closer to 5.5%, is probably not at that level right now because of that mismatch. It's more likely that the unemployment rate is closer to 6.5%. The structural employment is closer to 6.5% to 7%. How big of a problem is that? Well, the key issue here is to try to bring the unemployment rate down as quickly as possible. Obviously, the tools that we've employed so far through the Fed's quantitative easing or the fiscal packages have helped, but they have not been strong enough or not helped to the degree that the unemployment rate has come down more quickly. So more has to be done on that front, because the key risk is that the longer the unemployment rate stays higher, the more entrenched that problem gets, which is what you typically call hysteresis, which you have also very visible in the Eurozone. So, for example, people that drop out of the labor force, they're unemployed, they're not looking for a job anymore, they're discouraged, and they lose their skills, so it's harder for them to re-enter the labor force. So the higher the unemployment rates, the longer the unemployment rate stays high, the tougher it is for them to find a job, the more they lose their skills, and it becomes a social problem. So that's the key risk here. I would think that as a bottom line, in part, the structural issues reflect the high unemployment rate, but I think it's also a reflection of an aggregate demand that has not been spurred by enough yet.